everyone. Thank you for practicing together. Would you like to come a little closer? Or would you like me to really shout it out? So, how wonderful to be practicing together. I was at a party yesterday. There was beer and vodka, and all kinds of drinks and dips and things to dip in, and cookies. And there's a lot of excitement, laughter, not a lot of sati, not a lot of mindfulness. I think it was a successful party. I cannot participate in alcoholic beverages, not by any virtue of my mind, but just my body doesn't tolerate it. So it's wonderful to be practicing awareness. This is what, under the picture of Luang Por Chien, there's a little capture that says that the main purpose of this practice is to practice awareness, mindfulness, and mindfulness of the body movements. The more we build our awareness, the easier it is to see where we are in disagreement, in suffering, in some wanting it to be different, in wanting something more, in not wanting something that is here, try to fix it, try to control it. The Buddhist oft repeated words of greed, anger, delusion. But this is a counter measure. This mindfulness, this awareness of just open observation of what occurs the way it is, without recoiling, without the mind trying to control it. It's a kind of a blissful state. But it can be hard. It can be really hard because when we first practice it, we really notice all the disagreements that we have with ourselves, with the world, I think for myself, speaking for myself, mostly with myself. Oh, I don't measure up, I should do this better, I should be a better meditator. They talk about wisdom, where is it? Not much in here. So simple awareness, and in that awareness, a lot of good qualities exist. Being in accord, kind of a loving kindness, a state where we are not censoring our feeling or censoring our thought, but just are able to see them pass through. Not believe the thought as the truth, but just seeing it as a passing comment, a mind habit that just pops up and also disappears. But that is difficult at first because we believe ourselves so much, or we believe that mind so much. We believe the stories that we recognize ourselves in. This is who I am. This is what always occurs to me. This is my fate. This is my lot. I had this happen. And that's why I always react this way. Well, we're much freer than we think we are. We have these mind habits that kind of tighten things up and create this mind cage or this prison around ourselves. These are the boundaries. These boundaries, this is who I am, this is the world. And in that, we create a kind of security, and not much in it can really happen or surprise us because we make sure that nothing can surprise us, that we are ready. I noticed this in the last week. We had a 5-day retreat with a teacher from Thailand who calls herself Auntie Pickle. And so for 5 days, practicing to come back to just the mindfulness of the moment, of this moment, what occurs. And, for instance, with these movements, you do that for 5 days, it gets pretty bothersome on the shoulder. It can get tiring, it can get painful. And, not that we are seeking pain, but our habitual reactions around when pain occurs is really interesting to notice. I had one shoulder that was really bothering me, so every time that my right hand was making this move, I was anticipating, this is going to really hurt. So and then at some moments I would forget that was so, and then it didn't occur. So some of this mind control is really pushing us in that corner of suffering. Whereas the awareness is open, sees that there is some discomfort, doesn't really hang on to it, doesn't make something more out of it than it is. And then, at some moment it isn't there anymore. So this mindfulness is really so freeing, this open awareness. And it's not the peace of no thoughts, I'm so concentrated, nothing can happen to me, it requires total silence. No, it's kind of the peace of being able to be with what happens. Noticing how the mind resists. In a 5-day retreat, you have lunch, you want to sit next to someone, you don't want to sit next to someone else. It doesn't really matter, but somehow your mind has created this aversion, attraction, and you are actually a slave of these ideas. They're not really, you build ideas about people. This is who they are. Well, you have no idea. You really have no idea. Or you have ideas, but it doesn't really match anything that is substantive, that is important, that is real. You are living the life of your expectations instead of the life of what's here, what occurs in a moment. So this tradition, this lineage of Mahasati, great mindfulness, which started with Ajahn Tavi, teacher, Luang Por Chien, using these movements. And I think that it's the point of that lineage is, this is a technique. This is a way of saying, okay, but let me just stay with moment-to-moment awareness of this movement. But really, it is the buildup of awareness and mindfulness. So if you are used to practice with following the breath, you're doing something similar. I've been doing this for 15 years, and so I find this easier because I'm able to see this as a bigger movement. I don't close my eyes. I don't fall into a dream state. It keeps me awake. But the point is awareness. The point is sati. The point is to be present, in the presence of. And I think that that's one of the reasons why it is so wonderful to be doing this together. It's easier to do it together because we pick up the energy of this sincere effort. I'm deeply appreciative of having found this practice because I think before I did, I really lived a life full of my judgments and beliefs about what things are. I was really a judgmental person. And not a lot can happen. You are as judgmental about others, that's how it expresses itself, but you're really that much caught in the judgment of yourself. And that's a terrible vice. Vice with a C and vice, what is the vice? It creates a lot of pressure. It makes the world very small, and it doesn't have a lot of possibilities in that world. You see somebody make a mistake in the traffic, and they're a mortal enemy. And you just follow that, creating mortal enemies, and a kind of a bitterness. So the taste of togetherness, the taste of being with other human beings, you don't have to cover it with booze, although maybe it's nice. We don't have to drown it out. We can just let it in and see, okay, well, here I'm caught in a judgment, here I'm caught in a prejudice, here I'm caught and not follow it, not follow all those prejudices that we carry about ourselves. And all those beliefs about where this practice should leave us, where it should bring us, but really accept it as it comes. So to give up a good amount of control, a good amount of control is really not the right expression. It is a good amount of the will to control, because we don't really have that control. But that will to suppress, to make this better, to make this worse. to make that go away. A lot of the time, make it go away. Let me not be caught in this. Let me not have these thoughts. Let me not pay attention to that. Let me not look. We're really not testing our aliveness. We're not really testing we're not really testing our love. We're not really testing this world as it is right now. We just want to glide along the rails of what we already know. But there's a really famous book that was written by one of the first teachers of Zen Buddhism, Suzuki, which was the first line of it is that in the mind of the expert there are few possibilities. So all this, I know how it is, I know what this person is going to do, I know how I'm going to be stranded in this mess. All that is all that expertise, or all those expectations, or all those well-worn paths that allow for few possibilities. But in the mind of the beginner, there are very few. So awareness is beginner's mind. Is this, what is this? And it is the direct experience of the contact of the sound and the ear and the awareness of that. The contact of the eye with light and forms and colors, and the consciousness of that. This direct experience of the senses, before we name it, before we prefer this over that, before we make stories about it, but just the presence of it. And that's a muscle to build. That's going back to the beginning, kind of a practice, because you get lost. Oh, this is painful. Oh, this is horrible. Oh, how much longer? How much this? How much that? What should I do? And so to just rest in the experience of being alive, just rest in, that's very peaceful. Now, that's one part of the teachings of the Buddha, to do no harm, to refrain from bad deeds, to do good, and to purify the mind. Those are the three teachings of the Buddha, because I believe when we are practicing this mindfulness, it helps if we are not bothered by our bad consciousness. Oh, I said something horrible to my wife this morning. I probably hurt her. It's not a good thought. So the practice helps us to be more aware of making a peaceful place for one another. And having a peaceful place for one another helps in the practice too, because we're not caught in the karma of all this stuff that we get caught up in our thoughts. So that's the freedom of sati. And Ajahn Tadi yesterday said that this type of meditation, the meditation of insight and developing awareness, is like being in touch with the Buddha mind. That is cultivating the Buddha mind. And that this is the original teaching of the Buddha as a path to enlightenment, as a path to make our lives lighter, our minds lighter, and live a more thoughtful and present life. So that's what I wanted to say today. It was wonderful to be in a retreat for 5 days and practice this and see, all the challenges that come up and work through them. It really deepens your practice to do it longer, to get more irritated by it. The more irritated you get, the more you can let go. So, what do you have to share? How is your practice today? How is your view on this path of mindfulness and awareness? Do you have any comments or questions?
Start.
Yes, please.
So I'm in my first week
Uh-huh.
of this practice. And it's one of those things that from the moment I learned it, I knew that this is part of my journey right now. So I want to continue the practice. But you mentioned pain and the relationship to pain. And that's something that I've dealt with, chronic pain. And so how do you work through that in the practice, other than just be with it? Tell me more about that.
Okay. I think that's a really, really good question, and it's pain in the mind and pain in the body.
Yeah.
My understanding of it is limited. But it's a process of what we have to find out for ourselves, is how much we can observe it and how much we are creating by trying to push it away and saying, oh no, my migraine is coming up, oh, this is going to be terrible, this is going to be a horrible event and I need to protect myself and I don't know how. And so to add to the expectation of pain, anxiety, physical tension, and a lack of trust that it comes and goes. But wanting to control it and have it fixed in our mind, I think is a big part of the problem. Pain is not avoidable. We all will suffer pain. We all will suffer. But our relation to it can make it more problematic, can make it more, this is the most important thing for me, that I avoid this, and you push yourself into this corner. So if you can, the more you can practice this moment-to-moment awareness, and the awareness of the sensations as they occur, I think that you can move through it more easily, a little more easily. The ability to observe it includes the ability to say, oh, it's moved, oh, it's somewhere else now. It started out hot, but now it's sharp, and is now easing. It comes and goes, and to see that coming and going, rather than just the sheer, enormity of pain, and that I think that they're finding your freedom with it by observing rather than by resisting. But this is the stuff that I think we can discover for ourselves only. It's not the stuff that I can say, oh, this is how it works, and you just practice that. I think you try to keep an open mind with it. Try to see how your mind creates this cage around it. And when you see that, say, oh, okay, well, I don't need that. I don't need this part. So, yeah. You're welcome. Does anyone else have that experience of pain that they...
Yes. I've had most of my adult life, which is actually for many years, I've had these periods of chronic pain. And, it's not just one pain that lasts. It's, just that you're in pain a lot. Physical pain. I think that I always knew the source of it, so it wasn't like a why me type of thing. There's an accident and a lot of damage done, things that don't come back that well. I still have it today, not too bad, pretty good today. But I think I would say that the difference, it's just, it just comes to not caring so much. It's, and also, I have to say that the medications for pain are better these days than they were in the old days, and I'm very happy for that. And I would encourage everybody to try all the things that make a difference, that are real, and not psychological stuff about it, which all it does is make you angry to hear it. So, but I think the meditation, it's kind of a distant. It's not, like something you'd see in a movie where, I'm detached from everything. But there is a kind of a space between what my body is feeling and suffering at that moment, and afraid to take a step in case my leg collapses or something like that. There's a little wall there, or a little space there, in which I'm just going on with my life, and then there's this other thing that gets in the way. That's all. And so there's an acceptance, I think, that this is kind of the way it is, and if they come up with something better, I'll try it, I don't have any philosophical view of it at all. I don't want to be in pain, and I don't want anybody else to be in pain. And I think there's just there's a little separation between the grinding or whatever kind of pain it is, and I don't know. I've known people who have terrible headaches, and that's much harder for them. The headaches are really hard. But it can do it, and it just happens. If you think about it too much, then
Yeah.
It's a little.
Thank you. It's as though there's the physical pain is almost sometimes more bearable than the physical pain is sometimes more bearable than
And the thoughts about it.
than everything else,
Yes.
right? And then what happens when you're not in pain, but you're anticipating? You spoke about the shoulder movement.
Yeah.
I can very much almost laugh at how much I can relate to that, where that's just prolongs the suffering. And so the work to create that space between, the physical pain, I think there's a lot of growth for me to have there. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, I don't know. I just something I just noticed. I didn't try doing it.
Yeah.
I just noticed it.
Yeah.
It was a practice,
Glenn?
To me, the way I grapple with it is that pain is something that is done to you or that you experience in the concrete world, and suffering is something that you entirely do to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Nina?
I'm just wondering if it helps anybody to call this psychological reaction to the pain the second arrow, as a commonly referred to, so you can name it and differentiate. Okay, there it is, and now I'm seeing the future where I'm in pain and my life is like this, and this whole cascade of unpleasant mental reactions. And I think the more you can see that and reduce it, you can, as Lisa was saying, seek out new treatments, seek out better ways for yourself to be healthy. And also, I think being very kind to yourself about it, because what could be more disruptive to a person's life than their physical body being so uncomfortable to live in? You can't escape from it. So I think just seeing that, I think it's also a very clear sign about something that was discussed at the retreat, how it makes it very clear that we don't have control of our body. Yesterday, I very much wanted to do something very important, and it involved being outside in the heat, but with the condition that I had to leave because I was going to faint at that table. So I just had to. It was kind of embarrassing for me, and that I didn't want to be this frail person, but I just said to myself, this is not my choice now. This is not what I chose, but this is what I have to do because this is the circumstances, and I had to leave. And I just had to say to myself, I can be helpful at another time. I just can't do it now. It's not my choice. So, because with being disabled and ill comes that, I should have done it better. And then another second arrow with a practice like this is, why do I still have the pain? I'm so devoted to my practice. And, it just doesn't quite work that way. It's about doing the best we can with the circumstances at hand. And I think all of this helps clear our mind to treat ourselves better. And thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right. I thank you all. Wish you a wonderful rest of the day and hope to see you again soon.